I'm with Nelly today, and she's gonna talk to us about her life and Medusa, the character, and the intersection between black women and anger. So, do you wanna give us an introduction to the thing?
Yeah, so I'm really talking about the idea that black women encompass rage and the idea of the angry black woman, which is sort of a false narrative that society has created. And I've linked that with the story of Medusa because I studied classics as a degree, and classically she's one of the most misunderstood people in media, in books. She's seen as this woman who's filled with rage, who delights in putting men to suffer, but that all stems from her story, and she's the way she is because of the projections people have placed on her and sort of the torture that she's been through in her life, and that sort of leads into the idea of being a black woman, especially in today's society. And we're painted with the idea of we're constantly angry, we're constantly aggressive, but that's just projection that society has placed on us, which is entirely untrue on how we are and our character. Society has a really big issue and a bad habit with titling black women as aggressive, as angry, when really all we're doing is expressing ourselves. You know, we're seeing a really big change in culture, not only with women but with men. Everyone's becoming more comfortable with their emotions, more comfortable with their feelings. You know, mental health has been a really hot topic for the past couple of years. But it seems when it comes to black women, when we express ourselves, it's seen as aggression, it's seen as we're being domineering, we're doing something that's so out of the ordinary, and it's not true. And being a black woman myself, I've seen it from when I'm small, even now. If I speak out against something happening to me, it's like, oh well, no, look at you, you're just being an aggressive black woman, you're being an angry black woman. You see it in the media recently with Serena Williams going against the judging or the ruling of one of the people in the tennis court, and saying, oh well, you know, look at her, it's because she's a black woman, she's just so angry, and it's like, it's not true. And it raises the question of why is everyone else allowed to express themselves but us? What is the problem with us that is seen as such a taboo subject if a black woman speaks out against wrongdoing, speaks out against injustice? And it's an ever-growing problem, and it just seems that with what's happening socially, the social progress that we're making, black women are getting left behind a lot. And statistically, we are the worst treated in the professional environment, in the social environment, dating. And it all stems from this idea of black women are angry. We're not angry. We just have to fight that little bit more to make our voices heard, to get our opinions out there. And that's not anger, that's our passion, that's our drive, that's who we are. And I will say that this is not just a problem, a general problem, it's a problem within the black community as well. You know, growing up, I had black boys say to me, oh, you know, I can never date a black girl because you're all just mad, you all have attitude. And it's like, where did you get that from? Where did this idea stem from? And that's just a big thing to unpack in itself. And I think just stemming back from slavery, you know, myself being a major in history, when you're looking at how black women were treated in slavery, they were treated atrociously. And when we started to fight against that and fight against the constraints put on us, that's when this idea of aggression came out. That's when this idea of anger. And it's not true. It's our way of fighting injustice. Us speaking up is not aggression. It's the same as, you know, our white counterparts, white females, when they speak out against their injustice, it's not seen as anger and aggression, it's seen as empowering, and you know, she's standing up for herself, yes queen, but it's not for black women. And it's a really confusing type of concept, but slowly I hope that this stigma around black women and the idea around the way we express ourselves, it's not angry, it's passionate. People are really confusing anger and passion, and it's getting mixed up. So I think Medusa is a strange character to pick, especially if you're not familiar with her story. And myself being a classicist, I think Medusa is really, really misunderstood. And just to give a little bit of background about her, she was a very holy woman who dedicated her life to Poseidon, who's the god of the sea. And she was met with a lot of jealousy from Athena. And Athena was jealous by her beauty, by her passion for Poseidon and for him, that one day she decided she'd had enough, and she turned Medusa into what you see today, the evil type woman with snakes coming out of her hair, who just seems angry and enraged. But what a lot of people don't know is that for the first few years after her transformation, she lived in shame. She lived hiding and covering herself up, and slowly with the constant torture coming from Athena and from what she'd become, she became slowly more and more filled with rage and with anger. But it's not because of that's who she is, but it's because of that's how she's become, because of people's projection of her and around her. And I think that links in really well with not only the idea of the angry black woman, but also within my life. Medusa is misunderstood, and I felt like growing up I was completely misunderstood. Anytime there'd be an argument, it would straight away be, oh, it's because you're always angry, it's because you're always mad. And it's like, no, I'm standing up for myself. And around really early on in my teenage years, I developed quite severe anxiety and mental health issues. And then that began manifesting itself in different ways. So sometimes I would be really energetic, sometimes I'd be really down, and sometimes it would come out as aggression. And just like Medusa, it was just me trying to cope with what was happening around me, the projections around me, and within my own mental state. Being angry is not something that I've ever really characterized myself as. I've just tried my best to stand up and fight against what I see as injustice in my daily life, in schools, in professional environments, and especially with having the mental health issues that I do have. A lot of people misconstrue that, and they see that as me being aggressive. But having anxiety, it becomes really hard to cope with certain things around you, and you may lash out in certain ways. But that doesn't mean that within myself I am an angry person. That is not true. And similarly, I have many black female friends who have expressed the same opinions of really trying their best to be the best they can be, but with people constantly projecting around them and forcing upon them the idea that you're angry, you're this, you're that. They found themselves becoming that angry black woman, becoming that angry person. And just like with Medusa, she was never that way. But because of what was constantly being thrown at her and the torture that she kept facing, she became and embodied that angry rage. And that's what happens to a lot of black women, and we kind of get lost and sucked into the false narrative that society has played upon us. It reminds me of when I was in my early teens, I'd say about 15, a boy approached me and tried to get my number and stuff like that, and I said, oh no, I'm not interested. Oh, it's so typical black women. Always happens with black girls. And it's like, why? Where did you get this idea from? I was just simply told you no, and automatically you have an attitude. Why are you being so aggressive? All I did was ask for your number. And it's just, I was really taken aback, because I just simply said, no thank you, I'm not interested. But then it was just constantly, oh look at you, it's because you're mad, it's because you're angry. And then that actually put me in quite a dark place within myself, because I began to question my own character. Because it kept happening so frequently, and boys would say they wouldn't go out with me, people would say they wouldn't be friends with me because I'm this angry person, I actually began to believe that. Until one day I sat down and I thought to myself, no, I'm not angry, I'm not aggressive. I'm simply stating my boundaries and my limits. And I think that's where society needs to improve on. especially when looking at the lives of black women. We face a lot of injustice in every walks of our life, and we are just trying to make our way the same way everyone else is. We express ourselves through song, through art, through poetry, through so many different mediums, and anger is not one of them. It's never been what we stand for, what we want to put out there. Because why would you want to create a society built on anger, built on aggression? If history has taught us anything, that does not lead to good results. If anything, it leads to the breakdown and the destruction of society. The narrative of the angry black woman, I think, is just another way of control. It's a way for society to keep us in the position we're in and not let us develop and show our true colours. And in my daily life, I'm working my hardest to fight against that, because I know I have so much more to give. My passion for women's rights, for the correct school education, is not anger. It is my need to change what's going on around us. And similarly, you know, you have famous people like Serena Williams, Beyonce Knowles, Janelle Monáe. They're all doing their bit to fight against the injustices that we face every day in society. I'm currently working as a history teacher, and within my school, within the national curriculum, I do my best to change the minds of young people, change the false narratives that is placed on not only black women, but other people of colour, other people of sexual orientations, religious backgrounds. It's just all our way of working towards creating a more acceptable, a well-educated society. And I think that's what we all lack, is education. If people tried a little bit more to educate themselves on black women, look up a black woman, a famous black woman, and look at her backstory. And I think that will change your mind on the idea and the narrative that we're all angry. It's not true. We are all fighting for the bettering of ourselves and people around us in our communities. I come from a Caribbean background. I was born in Grenada. I moved here when I was relatively young. But being in the black community, you realise really early on that emotions are not really something that they don't come up, they don't exist. And you know, you really spend a lot of your life not really showing your emotions. You don't see members of your family showing emotions, and that was something I really struggled with. A really strange memory is, like, I think I hugged my grandmother for the first time when I was maybe 19, because it's just not something we do. We don't show extreme emotion. But like I was saying before, I started to struggle with mental health really early on, and I found myself being caught in these tumultuous feelings and tumultuous emotions, and sometimes they would manifest themselves in aggression, in anger. And I began to think, is that me? Is that who I am now? Am I that angry black girl that people keep telling me about, that people keep telling me I am? And it's not true. Like, especially within the black community, because you're told not to show emotions, you're told, you know, emotions are weakness, speaking out is a weakness. You just need to accept what's given to you, because we're fortunate that we're here anyway. And that's just a big question on colonialism, but we're not going to open that. When you do start to speak out and talk out about yourself like I did, people see that as you being something that you're not. And in my case, and in many black people's cases, you being angry. But, you know, when I first started to experience these emotions, I sat and said to myself, no, I'm not angry. You know, I'm just showing people who I am. I'm showing people that I can be excitable. I'm showing people that I can stand up for myself. And I'm not going to stop doing that. I'm going to continue to be me. And if you want to see that, and if society wants to see that as anger, that's their own problem. That's their problem. Because I know within myself, I am not the angry black woman. I refuse to step within the confines that society wants to place on me. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I'm fighting for. And one thing I definitely don't fight for is for anger and for aggression, because it doesn't solve anything. And I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to change the minds of people in my family and change the minds of people close to me within the black community about their ideas on black women and the confines that they put on black women. And I think for me, what I'm really proud of is that I've been able to work within my own community to change the narrative, and hope that from my own community it will then branch out to those around me and to those that, you know, have ignorant perceptions and ideas of black women. I will fully admit there are days where I wake up and I'm angry and I'm raging and, you know, I don't feel happy within myself, but I know myself well enough now to know that that's not who I am. It can be a part of, but it doesn't encapsulate me, it doesn't show me, it's not me. I can be excitable, I can be sad, I can be, you know, running through the fields screaming, and I could also be angry. But angry is not who I am as a black woman. And for most black women, it's not who we are. We are many different things, not just that one. Who I am is not an angry black person. I am a woman who loves languages, who loves learning about different cultures, different ways of living. I'm a history enthusiast, a classics enthusiast. I will spend all day living in ancient culture if I could, learning more about the way we used to live and how we've evolved as people, socially, politically, economically. I am a person who loves her family. I will do anything for the people I love, family, friends, even a random stranger that I've met. I believe in giving my full self to those around me because that's what I expect in return. I want to stand up for women's rights because I think that that's a really current topic that we're addressing as a society and we're making headway on. And I want to stand up for religious equality because we see an increasing narrative against people of different religions, and it stems from a false representation, just like with the angry-black women. We see it a lot in religious circles, in circles when you're looking at sexual orientation and, you know, different things that are happening in society. I stand for myself and I stand for showing people that, you know, you are not what society makes you. You are anything that you want to be, and I am proud within myself, and I want to make people proud of themselves as well.